The outgoing commander-in-chief gets personal about his views on race and politics. He talks about growing up as a biracial child in Kansas and why people lean on stereotypes. He says, quote, "The suspicion between races, the way it can manifest itself in politics, in part comes out of people's daily interactions and the fact that we're segregated by communities and by schools and our churches and people's memories passed down through generations." He goes on. "I think what I did not fully appreciate when I first came into this office was the degree to which that reality would be the only thing that a large chunk of the electorate, particularly the white electorate, would see." Joining me, Rich Benjamin, author of Searching for Whitopia, and Michael Nutter, CNN political contributor and former mayor of Philadelphia. So, gentlemen, thank you so much for being with me. And Mr. Mayor, let me, if I may, just begin with you. Reading through this with Ta-Nehisi Coates, your thoughts about the president's candor, and did you get the sense that he was finally getting some of these thoughts off his chest?
Well, Brooke, I had the same experience at the tail end of your 8 years as a chief executive, and I was only the mayor of Philadelphia as president of the United States of America. There's a little more freedom that comes with that. I said to the president a good while back that in the second term there's a word called liberation. And I think increasingly you're going to hear more and more of his thoughts. He is so responsible of a person and so stand-up of a person that he recognizes that saying maybe some of these things while he is in the heart of his presidential time could have an even greater impact on some members of the public that don't share those views. But those are his views. He is living out his life experience, and that piece that you read is absolutely true. It is just surprising for someone who, many of us were raised, work hard, go to school, get good grades, stay out of trouble, and you too can be successful. And to be confronted with the reality that so many people apparently don't share that feeling is just really tough, especially when you're working your tail off each and every day to make things better for everyone.
Yeah, no, I know you were, and I like how you snuck that in. Well, here's what I told the president. Very, very nice. Rich,
I did.
Nice. Rich, let me quote the president here. This is when he talks about some of his struggles as being the first black president. Quote, "There is no doubt that there have been occasions during my presidency when I've said, y'all just would not do this with anybody else." Now, obviously, the whole birth certificate thing is most salient example. Right. Part of what's been difficult, he says, is untangling the degree to which some of these issues are because of race, and some of these issues being reflective of just a coarsening of the political culture and a sharpening of the political divides. What do you make of that, and do you think he's saying that because he's a Democrat, because he's had a tough time with Congress, because he's black?
Well, Brooke, we definitely had a Republican Congress who would have been an obstacle to any Democratic president. But I understand the difficulty he's talking about in untangling race from these issues because his opponents made immigration reform, healthcare reform, public spending. Race became a proxy for these issues. And you heard dog whistle politics into his presidency and even in this campaign. And when your opposition welds race into these issues, indeed, we shouldn't be surprised that it's difficult for this president to untangle what's race and what's not race.
He also talked about the full weight of his first election didn't hit him until his second term. He said the first inauguration, he says, is like your wedding in the sense that it is a joyous moment and occasion, but you're so busy and kind of stressed. It ends up going by without you even really knowing what's happening. The second one you could savor. To be able to win a majority of the vote the second time indicated that we had worked with a broad cross-section of the country and they trusted what we were trying to do. And Mayor Nutter, he talks about other black politicians he thinks could rise to his level or could have maybe in 2008. He specifically name checks former Massachusetts Governor Deval Patrick. I mean, is there another Barack Obama?
Well, Barack Obama is a quite unique individual, and no one should try to be Barack Obama. I mean, I've always said to my fellow elected officials or former colleagues, be yourself. But certainly you can aspire to some of the characteristics of a Barack Obama, a Martin Luther King, and so many, many others that we've seen in American history. But he's a quite unique individual. I think back to the Gwen Ifill book. I believe the title was The Breakthrough. I was in Boston in 2004 for our Democratic convention and heard this young senator who was running for office and that speech, which really helped to catapult him through the 2008 election. So, yeah, first inauguration is just kind of like a wedding. By the second one, you know the job and you know what's ahead. But again, people seem to forget. U.S. Senator Barack Obama and U.S. Senator John McCain were running during the time of the Great Recession. And when the president put his hand on the Bible and took his oath of office, the country was already in serious free fall. So that was the focus, that was the effort in pushing through the economic recovery plan, pulling us back from the brink of collapse. You know, there's a lot of collateral damage that goes with those kinds of efforts. Nobody was really happy, but blamed him for a recession that he had nothing to do with. So, you know, you deal with your circumstance. He was the right person at the right time. There's no question about it. And then took on all the other issues that other presidents who are not African American, who are not persons of color, would not really have to worry about.
29 days, 29 more days of this current president. I thank you
Don't
both.
say that.
Come on, Mayor Nutter, Mayor Michael Nutter, Rich Benjamin. Thank you.
I know.
Let's be optimistic and hopeful.
Thank
Thank you, gentlemen. Come and
Thank
now
you,
to
Brooke.
this. Speaking of Donald Trump, his cabinet is almost complete with just a couple